Well, hello, folks out there in YouTube land. Got a very interesting show for you today. Yep, the FSU fans are in sort of a meltdown mode, and their enemies are rejoicing. Yeah, there's a lot of people enjoying this victory by Georgia Tech, which is, I can tell you for FSU fans, this is a tough pill to swallow. Now, I happen to get along pretty well with the FSU folks. They have something in common with me and me with them. We both can't stand the Florida Gators. So I have a kinship with Florida State. So I'm not as thrilled with their loss as others are, but I understand people enjoying it because Florida State, you know, they went undefeated last year in the regular season up until the Georgia game. So they made some enemies during that time, as you can imagine, and seeing them get taken down has made some people happy. But first, let's take a look at the Florida State folks and what they're dealing with, because this is a tough loss. It just really is. I can appreciate how rough this is. Now, this first guy is TJ with double fries, no slaw. If you want to know what's going on with Florida State, he's usually the channel I go to. He's a super nice guy, and I've done some shows with him, and but you know, I got to show this. And this guy flew all the way over to Ireland to watch this ball game. Yeah, they went to a lot of effort, and to watch your team lay an egg like that is very frustrating. So here's his reaction from the game.
I tried to do this earlier outside of the stadium, and maybe it's a good thing that I wasn't able to, because I was certainly pretty emotional right after the game and still probably pretty emotional, but maybe I've had a chance to calm down a little bit. I will say this. I thought you guys were watching. I thought you guys were listening as I ranted for about 10 minutes outside of Aviva Stadium. In the very raw emotion of the loss to Georgia Tech. And I ranted for about 10 minutes and I had a guy that stood there for about 5 of the minutes, just sitting there, just kind of listening in. And then when I got to the very end of the rant, I turned the camera to him and I said, "You guys got any thoughts?" I was going to let FSU fans talk about how they felt after a tough loss. And he essentially just said, "I disagree with everything this guy said, and everything he just said was wrong. And he's an idiot." Or, you know, he just basically said he was wrong about everything. And I cussed him out and said, "When you start your podcast, you can say whatever you want, and you can go from there." And then me and him argued for about 15 minutes. We walked out and we continued to argue. And while we were arguing, a Georgia Tech fan came in and started to argue with – it was an FSU fan. A Georgia Tech fan came up and started to mix it up with us two. And we said, hey, we can fight each other, but you better get your lame ass out of here. Like, we're not doing that. So we pushed the Georgia Tech fan along, and then we continued our argument. And so anyway, our argument centered around my negativity. He said I was a little bit too negative about what I was saying. And again, I know you guys didn't hear any of that 10-minute rant. Unfortunately, the service just wasn't very good there at Aviva Stadium. I'll give you probably the toned down version now. But his take or his problem was that I was too negative, was that what I was saying might have been right, but that I shouldn't have been so negative. I shouldn't have been so hard on the team. I shouldn't have been so hard on the staff. And here's what I'll tell you guys, and I don't care if you like it. You can hit unsubscribe. You can leave. You can do whatever. I'm still wearing a Battles In polo. I'm still going to pay my check to the boosters this month. I'm still going to support our NIL. I'm still going to go to the Boston College game, though I would prefer not to at this point. I get it. But I will always speak the truth. And I'm not CNN, and I'm not Fox, and I'm not this outlet and that outlet I'm not this outlet. You know, listen, we'll call names around here. I'm not the outlet that's going to practice every day telling you guys everything's sunshine and roses all the time. All right, and you know who that outlet is. I don't need to say names, but you guys know who the outlets are that tell you everything's perfect around here.
All right, so he's not too happy. I can completely understand how he feels. I would feel the same way if my Tennessee Vols had flown to Dublin.
Come out to the coast. We'll get together, have a few laughs.
And we got beat by Georgia Tech or some team that I thought we were better than and had beaten on a regular basis, Kentucky. I would not be happy. And so I can totally appreciate where he's at. That's one reaction. Let's see another.
And then the other part of it is, it's a little bit disconcerting the fact that they were so tentative about letting him take shots until late in the game. what concerns me about that is that's how Clemson called the game when DJ was a quarterback. And they were very conservative with him. And so why is that? It's not like he turns the ball over a ton. And I just think, and Mike Norvell spoke in the post-game press conference, and he said, we're going to have to find ways to be more explosive. Well, man, it's not going to have – if you're not going to take shots,
right,
you're not going to be able to move the football.
Yeah, and it was almost out of desperation. It was desperation. Their two biggest pass plays to wide receivers were a fourth down throw to Ja'Kai and a fourth down throw to Malik.
One after an inside run on 3rd and 8.
Yeah.
Now, I thought that was a very important point they just made, and it's kind of what I saw in that game, and I'll show you some more evidence of that here in a minute. But DJ Ungagale or Ukulele or whatever you want to – let's call him DJ. They don't have confidence in him. They were not throwing the ball deep most of the game. Most of his passes were dink and dunk, behind the line of scrimmage, that sort of thing. It reminded me a lot of Joe Milton in some games last year. If you remember, we had one particular game where we threw 11 bubble screens, which is was Joe turning sideways and doing that. And they seem to feel the same way about DJ. If you're not confident in throwing it over the middle, that really limits your offense, and then they can focus on trying to stop the run, which they did after the first series. Georgia Tech said, you're not going to run on us anymore. And they didn't. If you saw the stats, after they ran all over Georgia Tech in that first series, got that first 8 points, they didn't hardly run at all after that. 3.2 average with only 98 yards total, and a lot of that was that first series. So they really stifled them big time. And DJ finally hit a couple of passes towards the end of the game, but he was not terribly accurate, and they were only throwing, like I say, dink and dunks. The confidence is not there, and that really can stifle your offense. So they've got some question marks there. I was concerned about them bringing in DJ. If you've watched this channel, you know I've said that many, many times. I watched him at Clemson. He's not sudden enough, and I don't think he's accurate enough. That's my opinion. But, you know, they spent the money and brought him in from Oregon State, where he, had a good comeback after really kind of falling apart at Clemson. He went there and kind of rebuilt his career. But I thought that would be kind of risky bringing him back into the ACC, which is, it's not like you brought him into the SEC, but still, I wasn't real impressed. So I think they've got an issue there as far as DJ is concerned. That's my opinion. You may differ from that. Anyway, now we're going to get into the tough part for the FSU fans. Florida State fans, I'm going to let you know right up front, this is a part of the show you may not want to see. Humongous, do your job.
Just walk away.
Yep, you've been warned, Florida State fans. And like I said, I kind of have a good relationship with you folks. I hate to see you suffer, so you've been warned. But I've got to show how many people are happy about this, and it's going to hurt. So let's get into this.
See ya. I don't know what happened today.
Yeah, there was a lot of that. There was a lot of that. And yeah, that gives you a pretty good idea. That's High Top Sports and Kangaroo Black. And High Top is Florida, so you know they like seeing them lose. And then, of course, Kangaroo Black liked it because they said Alabama didn't deserve to be in the playoffs, so he enjoyed that loss as well. But now let's get into another YouTuber that saw the game and wasn't real impressed with DJ.
This is real. Negative or minus, however you want to say it. 0.1. Nah, that's crazy. And guess what, Florida State fans? You can't use the excuse of, oh, well, we didn't want to be there. We're supposed to be in the playoff. Hey, that's over. What are you going to say about this? You just got to own this. Georgia Tech whooped your butt.
Yeah, that's basically how far the ball went past the line of scrimmage on average. So I think that's what he was talking about there. And like I said, there just was a lack of confidence in that first part of the game. They just didn't want to throw the ball down the field. Maybe it was because they didn't have enough protection on the offensive line, which they should have. Georgia Tech's defensive line was awful last year. I mean, they were terrible. So he should have had plenty of time. That wasn't the case. So they were either doing the dink and dunk or they were trying to run the ball, and they kept thinking they'd be able to because everybody was able to run on Georgia Tech last year. Not in this game, less than 100 yards. That's shocking. And I was waiting for a response from the Renegade channel, but we didn't get one. But I didn't forget about this. And all you UT fans out there, you'll remember this part.
I can't wait for Tennessee to lose in football next year because that's what they do every year. And they won't win this either. So screw them. Who cares? Don't care.
Oh, I hear you. Yeah, screw Tennessee.
Yeah. That didn't age well now, did it? Not at all. And now I'm going to show you a Georgia Tech fan. I couldn't leave without showing you a Georgia Tech fan. And needless to say, they couldn't be happier. This is probably about how many of them feel.
There wasn't a phase of that game Georgia Tech wasn't better than UN. We were better offensively. We whooped your hind ends on the line of scrimmage. We're a more physical football team than you. We had a better defense than you today. All I heard was, how great your defense is. Yeah, okay. Ran for 190 yards against you. You know how many rush yards that Florida State had? Keep in mind, Georgia Tech, 132nd ranked rush defense last year. They didn't even break 100. 98 yards. I had some Florida State fan, you forgot to mention this transfer from Alabama in your preview. But you're going to know his name after the game. Yeah, still don't know it. Got no idea what that guy's name is.
Yeah, needless to say, they're feeling pretty good today. And I think a lot of that is repressed because Florida State's been beating up on Georgia Tech for a long time, and they're probably feeling pretty good. 7-6 last year, started showing signs with Brent Key, who they brought in from Alabama, who's the offensive line coach, and seems to have gotten that offensive line squared away. And now they get a victory against FSU. I mean, you can't hardly blame them for crowing a little bit. Anyway, I thought I would show you all this, the reactions from both sides of this. Like I said, whenever there's somebody happy, there's somebody sad and vice versa. And there's a lot of that going on today. And the tough part for Florida State is it was the only big game of week 0. So it's all anybody's talking about or thinking about. It's not like there was a bunch of games at 4 o'clock or 7 o'clock that would totally take people's minds off of it. No, everybody's talking about Florida State. And so now you've got to go through a whole week of hearing about it until you can beat up on whoever you're going to beat up on next week, which I guess is Boston College. Anyway, I thought I would show you this. And if you like this content, be sure to hit that like button. Let's continue to cover all these big sports stories. If you've not subscribed, it makes it easy to get my videos if you just hit that little button, and it doesn't cost you a penny. So hit that little button if you don't mind. And right over here is the most recent video. YouTube thinks you'll enjoy. And we'll see you next time on Sports Dog J.